everybody, welcome back. It's the Trading Post, and this, of course, is the man of the star of the show, Noodle. And what are we going to talk about this time? Noodle? We're going to talk about the Travis Walton story. All right, we're going to get into it. Hope you like it. I got a little bit of music that I made for this one. So, if you like a little bit of it, I'm going to start trying to download some of my music that I made on the channel so you guys can have something else to, look forward to. Sorry, I've been really busy with that. I was making a lot of different songs and things like that, so I got kind of hung up in that. It's kind of why it's been a little bit of a deadfall for a minute. Sorry about that, but we're going to get back to it. I promise you that. And Noodle was making some music, boy. He was good at it. He's getting good. Anyway, we'll be right back. All right, everybody, we're back. This is a pretty well-known story. If you don't know, hang in. Maybe you'll learn something. But it's pretty interesting. I mean, just a quick rundown before we get started. You had I think it was 6-7 man crew, if I remember correctly. They did logging, timber and stuff like that. And they encountered an incident where they saw something. And one of the crew members got hit by a light. And it knocked him back, knocked him down. It scared the rest of them. They left. And eventually they tried to come back. But that's just a quick rundown. I'm just trying to give you a little idea. Okay, if you don't know or you haven't heard the story, but a lot of you have. So, hang tight. We're going to go ahead and get you going here. And I hope you guys like this. As a matter of fact, I think I might do a part 2 where we actually have Travis Walton on his interview with Coast to Coast AM. Hopefully you guys would like that. I mean, I think it brings more realism into the story so you can understand straight from the horse's mouth. Okay, let's get started. All right. The Travis Walton incident was an alleged alien abduction of American forestry worker Travis Walton on November 5th, 1975, in the Apache Sitgreaves National Forest near Heber, Arizona. It is widely regarded as a hoax, even by believers of UFOs and alien abductions. Now, Walton reportedly had said that he was taken aboard a flying saucer. Now, on November 5th, 1975, Travis Walton was reported missing by the logging crew he worked with. The other 5 members of the crew said that when they were driving back to town after sunset, driver Mike Rogers stopped the truck because they saw an unusual light. His close friend Walton got out of the truck and walked into the forest toward the light. Illuminated by a beam of light, he fell to the ground. Fearful, the crew drove away, believing Walton was dead. After their report, police organized several search parties, aided by a helicopter. Now, after 5 days and 6 hours, a bedraggled Walton called his brother from a phone booth in Heber. Now, Walton sold his abduction story to a tabloid, National Enquirer, which published the account and awarded the crew a $5,000 prize. Okay. Now, in 1978, he published his account as the Walton Experience. While he claimed sole authorship, it was rumored to have been ghostwritten by John G. Fuller. It was adopted by Tracy Torme as the 1993 film Fire in the Sky. If you've never seen it, check it out. I mean, this is something else you can get into and look at. Directed by Robert Lieberman. Now, science writers Philip J. Klass and Michael Shermer alleged that Walton perpetrated a hoax. They suggested a potential motive. An abduction could be considered an act of God, thus enabling the crew to avoid a steep financial penalty from the Forestry Service for failing to complete their contract deadline. Now that's interesting. I never heard that one before, but okay. In March 2021, Mike Rogers posted on his Facebook page renouncing his status as a witness to Walton's abduction, supposed abduction. Now, he declined to clarify that statement. In May, he posted an apology to Travis Walton. After interviews with Rogers in 2021, researchers proposed that a nearby fire lookout tower and its spotlight were used to create the illusion of a flying saucer shining a beam of light on Walton. I never heard that one before. I'll be honest with you. I didn't even know they had that theory. So let's go ahead and go into the background right now, okay? We're going to talk about that. In the spring of 1972, the National Enquirer tabloid began advertising a $50,000 prize for proof of extraterrestrial visitors. By 1975, the prize had been raised to $100,000. Now, Travis Walton in the Turkey Springs job, okay? I'm going to give you a little note here that I got. Now, Turkey Springs, about 12 miles south of Haber, was the site of the forestry contract and reported abduction. That's interesting. Travis and the rest of the crew lived 30 miles away in Snowflake. Now, Travis was picked up days later at a phone booth in Haber. After his return, Travis traveled with his brother Dwayne to Phoenix. Okay, so that's the notes that I got for that. Now we're going to continue on. In 1975, Travis, aged 22, was a member of a 7-person forestry crew led by Carl's older brother, Michael H. Rogers, aged 28 at the time. The year prior, Rogers had won a bid for a federal contract to thin out small trees from an area known as Turkey Springs in the Apache Sitgreaves National Forest, when he underbid 2 other contractors. Now, the Turkey Springs job called for the thinning of 1,277 acres. Now, that's a job. That's a feat. By August 1975. Now, Rogers requested and was granted an extension until November 10th. On October 16th, a Forestry Service inspector visited the site and concluded the job could not possibly be completed by the deadline. Failure to complete the job could lead up to a $2,500 penalty and disqualification from bidding on future Forestry Service contracts. Oh, okay. Now I see where we're going to with that. Okay. Now on October 20th, Rogers wrote to his Forestry Service contracting officer, "I cannot honestly say whether or not we will finish on time. However, we are working every day with as much manpower as I can hire. I will not stop work until the job is finished or until I am asked to stop. I have had considerable trouble keeping a full crew on the job. The area is very thick and the guys have poor morale because of this. We will keep working and trying hard." Now, we're going to jump into Barney Hill and NBC's The UFO Incident, okay? I got notes on that, and then we're going to go ahead and go down into the rest of it. Okay. Now, comparison between the UFO Incident starring James Earl Jones and the Travis Walton account, as illustrated on the cover of his book, both works depict a motorist who walks into the woods toward an overhead light when he is illuminated by a beam of light. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, got comparison there. Now, on October 20th, 1975, the same night that Rogers wrote to the Forestry Service, the NBC network aired a primetime special, The UFO Incident, a made-for-TV movie about an alleged alien abduction. Now, the film starred James Earl Jones as Barney Hill, who has undergone a hypnosis session with a psychiatrist in 1964, and after which he reported recollections of an alien abduction. Now, recovered memory therapy is not based on scientific evidence, and recovered memories are indistinguishable from false memories. The film aired 2 weeks before the Travis Walton incident. That's interesting. I didn't know that. Prompting suggestions that the film inspired Rogers and Walton to concoct their own alleged abduction story. Now, psychologists and skeptics argued that after viewing this movie, any person with a little imagination could now become an instant celebrity by claiming an abduction, concluding that one of those instant celebrities was Travis Walton. Now, according to researcher Philip J. Klass, Shortly before his disappearance, Travis told his mother not to worry if he were ever abducted by aliens because he would return safe and sound. That's interesting, right? Give me 1 second, you guys. We'll get back to this, okay? All right, we're going to talk about the incident now, okay? We're going to go through the story of it. On November 5th, 1975, Crew Chief Michael H. Rogers reported Travis Walton missing to the Navajo County Sheriff. Now, 6 members of the crew claimed they were driving down a forest road when they saw a lit object above the ground near the roadway. They reported that Walton got out of the truck and ran towards the object, which shone a light on him. They said they drove away in fear, only to return 15 minutes later to find both Walton and the light missing. Now, at 7:45 p.m., a member of the logging crew called Officer L.C. Ellison, Sheriff Marlon Gillespie, and Deputy Kenneth Copland drove to Heber to meet with the loggers. Now, according to a 1983 account, Rogers and 2 crew members agreed to return to Turkey Springs with the 3 officers, while the 3 other crew members refused to return and instead drove home in Rogers' vehicle. Now, the 5 men searched Turkey Springs until shortly after midnight. Now, when Sheriff Gillespie paused the search until the morning, around 1:30 in the morning, Navajo County Deputy Sheriff Kenneth Copland and Rogers visited Walton's mother. According to Copland, when he informed her of his disappearance, she said, "Well, that's the way these things happen." Copland said he was shocked by how calmly she took the news and her general lack of surprise. Walton, his older brother Dwayne, and his mother were described by the sheriff at the time as longtime students of UFOs. Because Travis Walton's mother lived in a ranch house without telephone service, Rogers drove her into town so she could call Travis's brother Dwayne and their sister while Copeland followed. Okay, sorry, my notes was a little scrambled on that one. Sorry, you guys, I'm trying to get better. Now, around 3 a.m., Walton's mother called her daughter, waking her. Deputy Copland was again shocked at how well Travis's family took the news. That's interesting. I didn't know that. Like, this is why you dig into it and you kind of try to find out more information. Okay. If it's coming straight from the police, at that time, and it was something that was noted, it's something of special interest to them in their eyes. So, let's give me 1 second. We'll go ahead and get back into this, and we're going to talk about missing person investigations. All right, missing person investigations. Now, on November 11th, members of the crew underwent polygraph examinations to determine if they killed Travis. Each responded that he hadn't. Now, the following day, November 7th, a search party of nearly 50 people scoured the Turkey Springs area, but failed to find Travis or any signs of an altercation. Law enforcement were surprised when, after a few hours, Travis's mother told them, "I don't think there's any use of looking any further. He's not around here. I don't think he's on this earth." Sheriff Gillespie dismissed the volunteers, but the following morning, November 8th, Rogers and Dwayne complained in person about the discontinued search. As a result, Sheriff Gillespie assembled another search party, which included a helicopter. Now, regional papers covered the story on November 8th. That day, a member of Phoenix-based UFO interest group recorded a 65-minute interview with crew chief Mike Rogers and Travis's older brother, Dwayne Walton. At no point during the interview did either express any fear or concern for Travis. Rather, they expressed confidence that Travis would be returned. During the interview, Rogers discussed the forestry contract, saying, "This contract we have seriously behind schedule. In fact, Monday the time is up. We haven't done any work on it since Wednesday because of this thing, and therefore it won't be done. I hope that I hope that they take that into account. Forestry contracts included an act of God clause that excused contractors who were delinquent due to unforeseeable circumstances such as this. That's interesting. I mean, that's another whole point to stand out. I mean, you know, when you think about it, I don't even know, like, they're hitting some good points on this, and I give them credit for digging into it like that. You know, it's really good. So you got to have both sides of it, and we can, in the end, we can devise what we think. You know, find your truth, right? During the interview, Dwayne revealed that he, Travis, and their mother were UFO buffs who had previously discussed that if they ever saw a UFO, they would immediately get directly under the object because the opportunity to go aboard a UFO would be too great to pass up. That's interesting. Now, Dwayne repeatedly insisted that Travis was not even missing. He knows where he's at, and I know where he's at. That's interesting. Okay. Now, on November 9th, law enforcement continued the search for Travis until late afternoon, when Walton's mother again requested the search be halted. By November 10th, stories of Walton's disappearance were being published throughout the U.S., UK, and Canada. Now, on November 11th, the press reported that Travis's mother felt any further searching for Travis would be useless. Also, on November 11th, Rogers and the 5 crew members of the forestry crew were interrogated by Arizona Department of Public Safety polygraph examiner C.E. Gilson to determine if the men had murdered Travis Walton. All denied having harmed Travis. Gilson opined that 5 out of the 6 men were being truthful and described results for the 6th man, Alan Dallas, as inconclusive. So he had an inconclusive one. Now, whatever that's from, I mean, I'm not too up on my polygraph stuff. I mean, I hadn't really dug into that to research it, but I mean, if you're nervous about anything, it don't matter. I mean, sweaty too much on your palms or whatever. I mean, from what I heard, that could affect it, and especially back in the 70s, you know, it's not like it is now with the polygraphs now. So, I mean, you got to take that into consideration as well. So, whether he was lying or he wasn't lying about anything, who knows, you know, but we'll find out here. Just give me a second. We'll find out the rest of this. Okay, everybody, we're going to talk about Walton returns. On November 11th, press reported that Walton had been found. Walton had placed a collect call to his sister's home from a payphone in Heber, Arizona, but I thought it was his brother. I don't know. That's where I'm confused on that. Arizona, Walton reached his sister's husband, Grant Neff, who drove to pick up Dwayne, and proceeded to Heber to pick up Travis. Now, Neff later reported he initially thought the caller was intoxicated. As part of the collect call procedure, Travis told the operator his name. She recognized his name as that of the missing man and alerted Sheriff Gillespie, who dispatched a deputy to the family ranch house. Okay. Well, see, I mean, because that was a big thing. I mean, he was gone for, 5 days or something like that? So Deputy Glenn Flake arrived at 2 a.m., where he witnessed Dwayne Walton transferring fuel from one car to another, after having forgotten to purchase gas before local stations closed. Now, Flake did not reveal that they knew Travis had returned home, and Dwayne did not tell the deputy that Travis had been found. Seeking medical attention for Travis, Dwayne reached out to a UFO researcher he'd met days prior. The researcher referred them to Dr. Lester Stewart, a hypnotherapist. Now, Dwayne took Travis to meet with Stewart, but his first words were that Travis needed a medical examination with lab tests and was not ready for hypnotic regression. Now, Stewart noted that Travis seemed very confused and reminiscent of drug addicts he'd treated. So yeah, it's like he was under something. He had something going on, okay? Stewart also noted that Travis had a small lesion on the inside crease of his right elbow, consistent with intravenous drug use. Now, after meeting with Stewart, the Waltons returned to Dwayne's home. There, UFO researchers arranged a house call by two medical doctors who were also amateur UFO investigators. That's interesting. I didn't know that. When they arrived at 3 a.m., Dwayne forbade them to use their camera or tape recorder, nor would he allow them to ask Travis questions about his experience. The doctors noted the presence of the apparent puncture mark and estimated it to be 24 to 48 hours old. That day, stories of Travis's return had begun to spread. The press began calling Dwayne's home in an attempt to reach Travis. Dwayne finally informed law enforcement of Travis's return, calling Sheriff Gillespie, who insisted on seeing Travis immediately. The sheriff drove the 4 hours into Glendale and arrived at 11 p.m. Dwayne and Travis demanded that Sheriff Gillespie not record the interview. Now, after a local UFO... Give me 1 second. After a local UFO group facilitated the connection, Dwayne and Travis moved into a suite at the Sheraton Inn in Scottsdale. The costs were covered by the National Enquirer in exchange for exclusive access to Walton and his story. Okay. Now, on November 14th, Travis skipped a polygraph interview with police. But that night, in the presence of Enquirer reporters, a doctor associated with the UFO group had a 2-hour conversation with a hypnotized Travis about the incident. The following day, November 15th, Travis was interviewed by Jack McCarthy, a freelance polygraph examiner arranged by a UFO group and the Enquirer. Now, McCarthy concluded that Travis was engaged in a gross deception and had even been intentionally holding his breath in an attempt to beat the machine. Oh, okay, that's interesting. I never heard that before. Yeah. Is it possible? Anything's possible, you know. We're just going by the information we got, right? So, on November 22nd, Travis appeared on Phoenix television station KOOL, where he was interviewed about the incident. Now, Travis claimed that he had lost consciousness when struck by a beam of light, and that he awoke in a hospital-like room, being observed by 3 short, bald creatures. He says that he fought with them until a human wearing a helmet led Walton to another room, where he blacked out as 3 other humans put a clear plastic mask over his face. Walton has said that he remembers nothing else until he found himself walking along a highway 5 days later, with the flying saucer departing above him. That's interesting, right? What do you guys think up to now? I mean, with the information that's given so far, throw your thoughts down below. Let me know what you think about this so far. Okay, and we're going to keep getting into this. We're going to go ahead. We got a lot more. Well, a good bit more. So, hang tight. We'll go ahead and continue this here in a second. All right? All right, you guys. We're going to talk about publicity and popular culture now. Okay? In the days following Walton's UFO claim, the National Enquirer awarded Walton and his workers a $5,000 prize for Best UFO Case of the Year. After they were said to have passed polygraph tests administered by the Enquirer and the Aerial Phenomena Research Organization, CAPRO, C-A-P-R-O, ufologist Jim Ledwith said for 5 days the authorities thought he'd been murdered by his co-workers. And then he was returned. Now, according to Ledwith, all of the co-workers who were there, who saw the spacecraft, they all took polygraph tests, and they all passed except for one, and that one was inconclusive, which we said before. Now, skeptics include the story as an example of a UFO hoax promoted by a credulous media circus, with the resulting publicity exploited by Walton to make money. UFO researcher Philip J. Klass, who agreed that Walton's story was a hoax perpetrated for financial gain, identified many discrepancies in the accounts of Walton and his co-workers. Now, after investigating the case, Klass reported that the polygraph tests were poorly administered, that Walton used polygraph countermeasures such as holding his breath, and that Klass uncovered an earlier failed test administered by an examiner who concluded the case involved gross deception. Okay. I don't know. What do you guys think about it? Throw it down below. Let us know. Me and Noodle want to know. We're eager to find out. Now, in 1978, Walton wrote a book, The Walton Experience, detailing his claims. Now, in 1993, the book served as the inspiration for the 1993 film Fire in the Sky, starring Robert Patrick as Mike Rogers, D.B. Sweeney as Travis Walton, Craig Sheffer as Alan Dallas, Peter Berg as David Whitlock, and Georgia Emlyn as Dana Rogers. Now, Travis Walton made a cameo in the film, but Paramount Pictures decided that Walton's account was too fuzzy and too similar to other televised close encounters. So they ordered the screenwriter, Tracy Torme, to write a flashier, more provocative abduction story. Well, that follows suit with Hollywood, right? On the opening day of Fire in the Sky, March 12th, 1993, Walton and Mike Rogers appeared on the CNN program Larry King Live, which also featured Philip J. Klass. Uh-oh. Okay, we got both sides of it, huh? Now, Walton has occasionally appeared at UFO conventions or on TV. He sponsors his own UFO conference in Arizona called the Skyfire Summit. That's interesting. I didn't know that. In 2008, Walton was analyzed by a private polygrapher and determined to be engaged in deception when he appeared on the Fox game show, The Moment of Truth. Oh, I didn't know he was on there. So on January 19th, 2021, Walton appeared on episode 1597 of the Joe Rogan Experience podcast. On August 25th, 2023, he appeared in the 5th episode of the 3rd season of How To with John Wilson, titled How to Watch Birds. Okay. Now, we're going to jump into the Rogers-Walton dispute of 2021, okay? I don't know much about this, but whatever I got here. So, on March 19th, 2021, Mike Rogers posted a statement to his Facebook page announcing, I, Michael H. Rogers, being of sound and retinal mind, do hereby give notice that I am no longer to be considered a witness to Travis C. Walton's supposed abduction of November 5th, 1975. He later clarified, Travis tried to keep a new remake of the movie a secret from me. He has always had his big secrets that he has kept from me. It angered me. I tried over the last 2 weeks to reason with him, but of no avail. I don't believe Travis is an honest person, and therefore I want nothing to do with him. Well, that's pretty harsh, isn't it? I don't know. I mean, not looking good for Travis as far as that goes with the whole argument. You know what I mean? The whole argument going on there. What do you guys think? Do you think it was just maybe he got paid to say that? I mean, it does happen. It happens both ways, right? I mean, just to make a story juicy or something. But yeah, on April 30th, Rogers placed a call to producer Ryan Gordon, who was working on a new film about the Walton incident. Gordon recorded the call without Rogers' knowledge, as permitted by Arizona law. Now, 2 months later, on July 4th, Gordon publicly posted audio from the call, which featured Rogers explaining, we were talking in the woods one day. We were talking about creating a UFO hoax, okay? I don't know the UFO got there, but I remember when I was driving the truck and he jumped out, it was all deliberate. It was all staged. It was all a staged thing, okay? He ran up there, and there was something about the UFO not being real, although it looked real. And Rogers and Walton later reconciled, and Rogers issued a statement retracting the confession. So what does that make you think? I mean, was it some BS? I mean, was he just trying to talk shit or what? I mean, what do you think? I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going. It could go either way. I mean, depending on what you find, what you dig up, you know. Let's go ahead and continue on, because we're getting close to about 30 minutes on this so far, and I don't want to hold you guys up too long, because I know these longer videos, some people don't like it, but some do. Hope you guys do. But we're going to talk about modern views, Walton's as UFO buffs and pranksters. Pause for a minute, all right? Let's get to it. Excuse me. All right, guys. We're going to talk about Waltons as UFO buffs and pranksters. Okay, Mike Rogers and the Waltons were known for their interest in UFOs. One member of the crew recalled Mike Rogers and Travis Walton arguing about how UFOs can fly. Okay. Rogers later acknowledged he had watched the first part of the recent television special that dramatized the Barney Hill alien abduction case, while the Waltons acknowledged prior discussions of wanting to be taken aboard a UFO. Now, the Walton family long had a reputation for pranks and practical jokes. That's interesting. I didn't know that. See, we're all learning, you guys. We're all learning. One neighboring family, the Gibsons, recalled being the target of multiple pranks. Within 4 months of the incident, UFO author Raymond E. Fowler, himself a believer in UFOs and abductions, proposed that some members of the crew had been the victim of a hoax and perpetrated by others in the crew. Authors including Class and Flock argue that Travis Walton and Mike Rogers planned the incident. As early as 1978, crew members Steve Pierce expressed suspicion that the incident had been a hoax. Pierce noted that on the day of the incident, Rogers made the crew stay past dark, whereas they usually ended work at 4 p.m. Now, Pierce recalled that Walton did not work at all during the day of the incident. Instead, he slept in the truck while claiming to be ill from carousing too much. He also reported that Mike Rogers disappeared from the work site for 2 hours that day. Okay. So, if he's saying this, my question is, what did anyone else stand up and say, corroborate this or not? I mean, because at this point, if it's just him saying it, it's hearsay. You know what I mean? Unless you have something else to validate this, you can just throw that out. You know, but that's my opinion. I don't know. What do you guys think? Tell me what you think. Okay, let's get to, we're going to talk about, man, my ear's itching, by God. Now, we're going to talk about National Enquirer misrepresented polygraph tests. This is interesting. Let's find out. Now, authors, including Michael Shermer and Philip Class, note that while the National Enquirer tabloid publicized the opinion of a private polygraph examiner who reported the witnesses as being truthful, it omitted all mention of Walton's prior polygraph examiner who concluded Walton was being grossly deceptive. They further note that while law enforcement had conducted a polygraph examination of the crew during their missing persons investigation into Walton's disappearance, the objective of that investigation was to determine whether the crew had killed Walton, not to investigate UFOs. Thus, they asked only 4 questions, 3 about violence against Walton, and 1 asking if an unusual object was observed. Now, science writer and skeptic Michael Shermer opined, "I think the polygraph is not a reliable determiner of truth. I think Travis Walton was not abducted by aliens. In both cases, the power of deception and self-deception is all we need to understand what really happened in 1975 and after. Wow, that's a hard-hitting statement there, man. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think this guy's right? Do you think he's full of it? What do you think? All right, so let's go ahead and go on to the last part of this. All right, the last leg of it for this section, this episode. We're going to talk about contrast with alien abduction syndrome. I didn't even know they had something like that. Okay. Now, in the 1980s, reports of alien abductions became more widespread, promoted by authors Bud Hopkins, John E. Mack, and Whitley Strieber. Folklorist Thomas E. Bullard notes that stories of alien abductions exhibit a fairly consistent sequence and description of events. Okay. So there's a pattern with it, is what he's saying, basically. Scholars suggest that alien abduction syndrome is the result of sleep paralysis of false memory syndrome. Walton didn't report paralysis, recovered memories, or other common elements of an alien abduction. Alien abduction narrative leading Fire in the Sky screenwriter Tracy Torme to opine, I don't think the Travis case is an abduction case. It doesn't fit any of the other patterns, as in the cases that were explored in Bud Hopkins' book, Intruders. So many witnesses, gone for 5 days, so I think all those things break the mold and make this case unique. Philip J. Klass noted that a UFO abduction mold did not yet exist in 1975. Now, that's interesting too. I mean, because at that point, maybe they didn't really have nothing. They really didn't stress much about that, right? So that's up in the air. I don't know. I'm not going to say yay or nay because I don't know. One around back then. So, but let's talk about the possible role of the fire lookout tower. Okay, all right, let's get to it. Robert Schaefer, a longtime writer for Skeptical Inquiry, has argued for decades that the Walton incident was a hoax. While the crew typically traveled back to Heber via Black Canyon Road, Schaefer suggests they returned that night via Rim Road, which passes by Gentry Tower. Okay, that's interesting. All right. Which Gentry Tower is a 70-foot tall Forest Service fire lookout tower equipped with a generator, a 200-square-foot living space for the lookout, an outer metal catwalk, and a spotlight. Now, Schaefer suggests Travis walked towards the tower, which was brightly lit above the treetops, until an accomplice in the tower illuminated him with the spotlight. Schaefer proposes that when Rogers later drove the crew back to the supposed abduction site, they actually arrived at a different spot entirely, one closer to their Turkey Springs site. Wow. What do you guys think about this? I mean, honestly, we want to hear your opinions. That's why we're the Trading Post. Let's trade our thoughts, okay? You can email us if you don't feel comfortable commenting at the Trading Post, thetradingpost8124@gmail.com. Feel free to do so if you want to be more discreet, okay? And we can talk more in depth about anything, any of these subjects, any of these episodes we do, all right? But, yeah, I mean, it was definitely an interesting case because I think, I don't know, because I haven't done the research on it that far into it yet, but I don't believe there was ever another abduction case where they were gone for 5 days. I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of disappearances. Trust me, there's a lot of them that happen. Okay, I'm not saying that those ain't possibly one or not. I don't know. I just, like I said, I haven't done all that research that far ahead into other things to kind of culminate with this. This is just specifically for this situation in itself, this story. And, I mean, honestly, you guys, feel free to watch the movie. Just check it out. Fire in the Sky. As a matter of fact, me and brother watched it there, I think, what was it, last week? last week or the week before, something like that, because I forgot all about that movie. It's been a while. Another good one is Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and we're going to talk about stuff like that. We're going to talk about the Barney Hill and Betty and Barney Hill incident. We're going to talk about that. We're going to get into different situations, different cases, okay? We're going to talk about it, see what you guys think. Roll it around in your head. Hey, I just, like I said, I get the information as best I can, and I try to bring it to you as straightforward as I can. I give you my opinions, what I think, and we go from there. Round and round the dance goes, as they say. But you guys, I'm going to try, and we're going to go ahead and do a second part to this, all right? And I'm going to try to get the interview to where you can listen to the actual interview and you can hear the words from Travis Walton's mouth, okay? Whether you want to or not, that's up to you. But you guys have a good one, okay? And we will see you again on the next one, all right? And as we always say here, live, laugh, and love. Because tomorrow isn't promised to any of us. You guys have a good one.